Doug is a retired colonel of the United States Army, and he is a state senator for Pennsylvania's 33rd district. Welcome, Doug. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for giving us a platform for free speech, because obviously the past couple of years has been rough for conservatives.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have been such a fighter when it comes to the number one issue that, just speaking as a voter here in Pennsylvania, the number one issue to me and to, my family and a lot of my friends and a lot of other citizens here is election integrity. So can you talk us through, how you're fighting back and how you have fought back against what happened here in 2020? And once you get into office, what we're going to do to prevent that from happening ever again?
Yeah, that is the most important issue, and it consistently last year plus or so, almost a year and a half now. Well, so the election happens on November 3rd, 2020, and I start hearing from people from across the state of various potential felonies or issues with voting integrity, what have you. And I got to be honest with you, I actually thought that these career politicians who've been in office for 20, 30 years actually do something about it. So we're, a couple days after the election, the leader of the Senate and one of the leaders, of course, of the House comes out and say, we're not aware of any fraud, kind of move on. And I'm like, okay, that's not what I'm hearing from Pennsylvania. So on 25 November, the day before Thanksgiving, I put together a hearing in Gettysburg, and it really blew the lid off everything. So anything happening in Wisconsin and Arizona and Georgia, it's as a result of Pennsylvania finally leading in the right way. And then the next few months after that, I was trying to launch a forensic investigation. I was a day away from having a vote to issue subpoenas when the swamp stepped in and cut the legs out from underneath us.
I was going to say, yeah, you were kind of standing alone, which is still good, right? Even if you stand alone, you got to stand for what's right. As Christians, you're a Christian, you're pro-life, which I think is important. I think, this is something that I've been talking about is we need more Christians in elected office. Christians cannot stand by on the sidelines anymore.
Yeah.
We need to get into elected office and support Christians, our brothers and sisters who are running for elected office. It's so crucial because, we can't complain about the policies that are being passed that are anti-God and anti-Christian and, anti-life and anti-freedom when we're not stepping up to the plate to run ourselves. So I think that's one of the most important things is getting Christians in office like yourselves and Christians supporting other Christians who are running for office. So, talk to us a little bit about the grassroots of your campaign, because, you're leading in the polls right now and the establishment Republicans are kind of getting nervous here. So what is your game plan, in this final sprint up to the primary?
Well, I guess we have lots of various mottos. Obviously, on our campaign signs is John 8:36. If Jesus sets you free, you're free indeed. So it's all about freedom. And, for us, it's not just talk. How insulting it is for so many of us who've been fighting for the past 2 years, now stand on stage with these candidates who, when I'm governor, I will, I shall, I pledge, I promise. And I'm like, where were you when we needed you guys? They're able to spend, millions of dollars on campaign ads, but not give us a cent to host these rallies we had to reopen the state. So talk is cheap. So our movement goes back several years, fighting against the draconian Tom Wolf edicts and Levine's death sentences to the elderly. And so it's called the Walk Us Free People movement. People have been beseeching and begging Rebbe and myself, my wife and I, to enter this race here for over 2 years. We're in it for the people. And our strategy is very clear. I'm a strategist, obviously, have a master's in strategic studies from the U.S. Army War College in Carlisle. And I'm already transitioning to the general election phase where we're starting to reach out to minority groups. We've had endorsements from several, in fact, the Latino communities to begin with. It's a statewide movement. It's the only grassroots movement. Okay, anyone can say that. Let me back it up with facts. To get on the ballot in Pennsylvania for governor, you need 2,000 signatures. Some of the candidates were so desperate they actually had to pay between $200 and $500 a sheet. Each sheet has 30 names on it. And I can tell you who, but I'm not going to. For a week, we collected 29,000 signatures, and it was all volunteers. It's a record for Republicans. And it was so impressive that even Lieutenant Governor Fetterman himself, came over and went out of his way in the Senate because he presides over the Senate as Lieutenant Governor. And it's like, wow, Doug, I don't know how you guys did that. We did it with the people. Didn't pay a cent. It was volunteers who are energized to have somebody as their governor that's not just going to talk and disappoint. When we go events state from Philadelphia to Erie, we have record crowds. At my announcement rally in January, the day after a snowstorm, we had 1,400 people. We had another rally a month ago in Lancaster on a Tuesday night. Terrible night to do it, but the venue, Spooky Nook, was available on a weeknight. 1,100 people came out. I mean, so belatedly, the swamp is like, oh, this is a real movement, and maybe we can't buy our way out of this.
Right, absolutely. You know, you're also not one to back down. You know, the press has gone after you extensively. You know, all the usual smears, right? The racist, bigot, conspiracy theorists, you name it. Right? All the same things they've called me, all the same things they've called Donald Trump. So what I really like about you is that you have a backbone, you have a spine, and you're a fighter. You're not going to bend the knee to the press because they call you a name. You may even get called a name for doing this interview with me. So brace yourself with that. But talk to us a little bit about the importance of standing your ground in the face of adversaries, and you know, the importance of free speech in particular is one of the most important issues to our community. You know, this country is one of the only places in the world that, you know, people can speak their mind. Their God-given right to speak freely is guaranteed by the First Amendment, and it's the only country in the world that has a law like that. You know, and we're seeing across the world right now increased crackdowns, and across our country and in our schools and in our culture, increased crackdowns on speech and political opinions that you know, the regime disagrees with. So talk to us a little bit about that and the importance of free speech.
It's really chilling. It's very Orwellian. You know, I like that one meme that I think you shared. It said, make a 1984 fiction again. So please, let's make Orwell fiction. And now we have this ministry of disinformation. I mean, this is so Orwellian that lunatic Mary Poppins wannabe. I mean, she's unfit for any job. I mean, what a crazy person. But I cannot believe, you know, I started off my career in the Army during the Cold War back in the 80s, facing off against a godless system, a strict system, a system where there was only government-approved rallies, government-approved thought. And the past 2 years, we've seen shadows of East Germany here in Pennsylvania. And it's really chilling to me as a Politico, that rag for the left. They actually did a couple articles, and although they're scathing regarding me, which is fine, they actually laid out how the media, this is a fact. This is absolutely a fact. The media conspires with the Democrat National Party to do their bidding. So last year, the Democrat National Committee with their companions, the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, blacklisted, these are chilling words, blacklisted 21 state Republicans. I was honored to be number one on their hit list.
Teddy, you knew you're doing something right.
Yeah. Teddy Roosevelt says you can, you know, judge a man by who his enemies are.
His enemies. Yep.
Yes. Thank you for that. I think you're familiar with that. So
absolutely.
The Democrat National Committee with DLCC colluded with the Post, the Times, you know, CNN to attack me. And their plan was to hit me so hard, according to this political expose, that I would, you know, be so ravaged by their lynching politically and publicly that I'd quit in shame. Are you kidding me? You know, I could have, as a retired Army colonel with a PhD, strategist, helped develop strategies around the world, and then what have you, a lot of credentials. I had a sweet job making six figures. I could have ridden off to the sunset, but I really cannot stand aside as I watch that my generation is handing off the country to your generation in pretty darn bad shape. So my job's not done. So if they think by smearing me and lying about me and publishing disinformation and baseless claims about me, I'm going to quit. You know, these people are fools and they're idiots, because I love my country, and I'm not going to hand over the country to these people that want to turn into East Germany with ministry of disinformation that want to blacklist people. You know, thank God for what you've done. Thank God for, you know, South African immigrant, you know, Elon Musk and others who are like, you know, this has gone too far. And it's gotten this far because so many of us on the Christian side have stood off into this on the sidelines. You know, if you talk about how bad things are in a country, and this is less so now, but before COVID, you know, all this stuff's going wrong in our country. And then you know, so many Christians are just kind of like, you know, like Pontius Pilate and wash their hands, say, oh, it's God's will. No, it's not. It's not God's will. This happens because there's consequences to our inaction or action. And when we stand aside and allow people to become governors or presidents, you know, if we stand aside and don't have a good candidate, don't get behind a candidate, don't support them financially, don't volunteer for them, and enable people who are unfit for office to lead our country, that's the result of inaction. So we look to the Bible, we see Gideons, we see Esther's and other rising up for such a time as this. So I was very hesitant to run for office in the first place. I only did it because somebody a bit younger than you actually challenged me. I was doing an interview with this guy, still in uniform. I think it was my last uniform as a colonel in the Army back in 2017. complaining, as I just delineated about how bad things are. And this guy looked over at me, a combat veteran, accomplished author, and all these credentials, and 12 years overseas. He says, "Well, Colonel, do something about it." You know what? Yes, we have to do something about it.
Right. He's right. Yeah. In my case, right, when I started Gab back in 2016, I was so tired of everybody complaining about the bias and we're being censored and the liberal media bias. I said, all right, well, this is the free market. Like, we can go start something. Like, why is nobody building something? And I was out in Silicon Valley, and as a Christian, I was shutting my mouth, right? Because I didn't want to step out of the line or whatever. And I was tired of living that double life. And God calls us to be fully Christian, be fully living for the Lord at all times, not just on Sunday, right? So these are all the things that I've been talking about. It's so refreshing to hear you talk about your faith, because we really don't see too many candidates, like even candidates who claim that they're a Christian or whatever. They never bring it up in interviews. They never talk about the Lord. They never do anything like that. So very refreshing to hear you do that. And maybe you can expand more about how your faith has kind of powered through this campaign and the process that your faith has played throughout the whole campaign.
Yeah, I don't come from an evangelical background. I heard the gospel as a teenager, accepted the Lord. My folks, my parents were appalled by the change in my life. I don't know why. And they weren't real happy with it. And so, went through some rough times there. And, throughout my life, people have spoken, ill of me because of my beliefs and what have you. And I look back over the past, 40 years or so since that decision. And I'm an American. Why can't I just be who I want to be? And so I love the Lord. Jesus is central to my life and my being. He's central to my life story, my testimony. And of course, I'll talk about him. And, it's because I would not be here without his grace and mercy. I'm a sinner. I struggle with sin. I fail him every day. But, thank God for his sacrifice. It says in, 1 John, if we confess our sins, he is faithful and true to forgive us of these sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And so that's essential to my part, to my life. Now, if you're a voter out there and you're not a Christian or an atheist or agnostic, you know what? Let me give you some vignettes. We held so many rallies in Harrisburg during the shutdown to reassert our freedoms. And I did mention during that debate the hypocrisy of that ABC affiliate 27, how they ridiculed, attacked, and judged my gatherings as irresponsible, reckless, super spreader, hardly any mask, no social distancing. But Tom Wolf and Levine, they can gather because it's a state approved event supporting BLM. They get grace and mercy, and I'm sick of this double standard. So we need to be bold as a lion. Now, look, it's not going to be easy. It's ugly. It was not fun or enjoyable watching the character assassination by these lunatics on the left who are so blinded by the God of this age. They can't even have a cognitive bias. And I appeal to them to get past it, but it's a cognitive bias. They don't even realize it, which is really kind of scary. But, if you go to my rallies, you'll see many people there who aren't born again Christians, who have, lifestyles that we disagree with. But it's interesting, I'll ask some of these people, I see we're polar opposites, as far as, worldview. Why do you support me? And they said, I get it, Doug. I disagree with you on so many issues on the social side, but we see you stand for freedom. And when you're governor, you'll never impose your beliefs on us. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty simple. It's not that hard. This is America. Live the life as you see fit, not as a governor or president sees fit. So my vision for Pennsylvania is a place where all men and women can excel in whatever aspect of life they want to go forth, whether it's businessman or woman or a soldier or airman. I mean, you pick the calling, whatever it is. It should be the land of opportunity. And right now, Pennsylvania has been in such unworthy hands that we're overtaxed and overregulated that it's hard to maintain a good life here.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, the Bible says we need to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, right? Well, I know you're a busy guy, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat with me so that I can introduce you to the Gab community. We appreciate you being on Gab, and next time you're up in northeastern Pennsylvania, let me know. Would love to grab dinner or something, and you're gonna win, man. Let's win in May.
May 17th is the big day. I mean, we're there. We're just about 2 weeks away from this big vote. And you do have a great opportunity here to select somebody who really stands for the Constitution, who's just not all talk. I oftentimes stood alone. I have not been alone. There's Representative Stephanie Borowitz, Kaufman, many others with me. But as far as the numbers in the General Assembly, a handful of us stood during the dark times. And so this is an extension of the fight for freedom. My vision for Pennsylvania is to unleash the bounds so we could have this potential unleashed here in Pennsylvania. We're sitting on a gold mine of energy to open up the energy that we can support the New England and other states here, that your kids and grandkids want to stay in. Pennsylvania is a land of freedom and the land of opportunity. So our vision's clear. Go to doug4gov.com, doug4gov.com, for details on my vision for Pennsylvania. The bottom line is restoring freedom, and it's all about your basic individual freedom. We restore freedom there. The families will be revived, the businesses will be rebuilt, and everything will fall into place.
We have to make Pennsylvania the Florida of the North, right?
Exactly. We're going to make Ron DeSantis look like an amateur when I'm in charge.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, brother. God bless you. Best of luck, and get out and vote. This is the most important election in Pennsylvania history. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Recording stopped.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.
Next time you're up here, let me know. You know that Vico works for us,
Oh,
right?
oh, that's fantastic. We love him.
He's a rock star, man.
He really is.
Very talented guy, very smart guy.
So
next time you're up here, when you're not busy, right? Once you win, once we get on the campaign trail, I'd love to come to your next event up here. So
we'll be in Bethlehem Wednesday. How far is that from you?
Wednesday, I actually have to be in Philly.
Okay.
So I'm actually in Wyoming County.
All right.
I'm up by Harvey's Lake, Dallas area.
Okay.
But next time you're up here,
all right,
I'll keep an eye out, and I'll ask Vico too. I'm sure he's tuned in, he's plugged into the campaign.
Sounds good. Thanks again for having me on, brother. God bless you.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
You too. Okay, that was with the founder and owner of Gab, and he has a reach of like 4 million people, which is fantastic. And apparently about 1 million of them are in Pennsylvania, so I'll have some good reach. Didn't realize it was so dark in here. Thanks, friends, for tuning in. I do have another interview with Real Voice, America Real Voice, at 4 o'clock, 1600, so about an hour, 45 minutes from now. May or may not go live. I just broke my selfie stick. The phone's barely hanging in there. The one with the light ring. This one here doesn't have a light on it. Dang it. That was my original one that Nicole out Western PA sent that to me like 2 years ago, actually. So I was doing it just with the selfie stick. But thank you for tuning in, friends. Just 2 weeks and a day from Election Day. And so please get out to vote. Bring friends and family, neighbors. Spread the word. It's so important. The swamp is slapping back really hard in desperation. Please pray that people won't be so gullible to believe their hit pieces, their mailers, and their ads. And onward to victory. I do believe with your help and support, we need every vote. If you're not a registered Republican, today is the last day that you can switch your registration so you can vote for me. You have to be a Republican to vote for me on May 17th. This is a bit more important than the general election because this decides who your candidate's going to be. Thank you, guys. God bless you. And